Hi guys, welcome back to the Lifey podcast. My name's Alexa and we have Jason here and then Kina here who we'll be interviewing today. She served her mission in the Philippines, so we're super excited to get into her experience and how that prep was and everything with that.
Oh yeah, but real quick, right before we start the podcast and learn from Kina's wonderful experiences, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Lifey app. It's kind of a great app, to be honest. We encourage you all to download the app, share it with others, record your own life stories and advice, help bless the lives of others, help other people out along their way. That's what the app's all about. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. How you feeling today, Kina?
Pretty good. Pretty nervous.
Pretty nervous? That is A-okay.
You're the star today, so I guess we could, if you want to just introduce yourself a little bit and then we can get into your mission and everything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, like they said, I'm Kina. I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I'm a sophomore here at BYU in the pre-business program. And I've been back from my mission for about 15 months now.
Dang.
I know.
Dang. That's
been
crazy.
a while. But
Almost a year and a half.
almost a year
How's
and a
that
half.
feel?
That's crazy.
I still feel like a little fresh off the mission, but
Really? After a year and a half?
because I'm like
That's
I'm still
wild.
adjusting. Because when I came home from my mission, I spent a semester in the summer, just back in Colorado working. So last semester was my first semester back, but it still feels like I'm adjusting. But that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. That's awesome though.
And give us a
Super
brief
cool.
introduction about your mission.
Okay, so I served in the Philippines Angeles mission. I think when I left, there were about 26 missions.
Just in the Philippines
Just
alone.
in the Philippines alone.
Wow.
I think they had just created about 2 or 3 missions when I had left. But my mission was the only one that was landlocked. So
The only one
The
out of
only one.
26.
Literally the only
Wow.
one. So I
That's
didn't even
crazy.
get to see the ocean.
Oh,
That's
dang
tough.
it.
Nothing
That
like
is
that. But yeah, so I went out. I think my batch was one of the first batches of Americans that went out right after COVID. So like not reassigned
Really?
or anything. So
And what did you say you left on your mission then?
I left summer of 2022.
Summer of 22.
Yep.
And that was like the
Okay.
first group.
First group.
Americans.
Yep.
Wow.
So my
That's exciting.
group was the first one in my mission that weren't reassigned. But there were a few groups before us that were in MTC who were in other missions. So
Okay.
yep, we
Dang.
kind of had to pave the way for
Yeah,
the Americans coming in learning
The
learning
Americans.
Tagalog. Yep.
That's true.
So sick.
Yep. So
that's
the
crazy.
time.
I guess we could start off now that you've kind of briefly introduced your mission. How was your prepping? Were you always planning on going on a mission? You kind of just get into that and like how you got ready for the MTC and stuff like that.
Okay. I think, well, my whole life I'd always wanted to serve a mission. Like it was my dream of going once I turned 19, once I was ready to go. But it wasn't until my first year here at BYU, I'd met so many people and I was like, wow, like, do I really want to leave this for a year and a half and then come back? So like my whole life I was so set, but I didn't waver from my goal until I came to school. And then that conference in April 2022. So I have a twin sister. So we had our whole lives were planned
That's
out the
so
same.
fun.
So we got tickets to the general conference session, I think Saturday morning. And that's the session that they really focused on missionary work.
Dang.
And I had just submitted my papers like 2 weeks before conference, I think. And I was still like, oh, maybe like kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. Like, oh, if my call comes, like, am I really going to go? But it wasn't until that conference that we were both sitting in there. And I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the apostles. I think it was M. Russell Ballard who got up and spoke. And he was the first speaker about missionary work. And he had kind of just said like, oh, like God, kind of like the young men are supposed to go and serve, young women can go if they choose to, but it was kind of like a responsibility kind of thing. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, this is what I've wanted my whole life. Like, well, why am I going to stop now? And so that talk kind of like pushed me over the end and kind of helped me realize like, no, I am going to go. Like I had already had this dream growing up in primary and young women. My plan was to always serve, so I'm going to go and serve. And so throughout my time here at school, my first year, I had made a lot of friends with returned missionaries, learned their experiences, attended my YSA ward. I took mission prep at BYU, and that was pretty good. So once my call came in, I think 2 weeks after general conference, I was like, okay, I'm going to go.
Weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks after
That's
conference.
crazy.
So when did you put your papers in then?
I put my papers a few weeks before conference, and then they came right after conference.
So you
Dang.
put your papers in, but you still weren't sure if you wanted to go.
Yeah, I was like, oh, am I really going to go? But yeah, so I put my papers in after conference, or before conference. They came after conference. And then I was turning 19 that June.
Okay.
So, and then I had left. So my birthday's June 4th. I had left around June 15th.
Is that
I was
when
out
you-
for the Philippines?
Dang.
Yep.
Wow.
So it was
That's quick.
quick turnaround, but
That was a
That's
quick
so cool.
turnaround.
yeah. So,
And how did you feel when you opened that call? It was
Yeah.
Philippines.
I was like,
She goes,
I did not know anything about the Philippines. Like literally, like probably
zero.
nothing. Like probably
Did you
just
even know where it was?
I was like, I knew it was probably like maybe a third world country, but didn't know
Yeah.
anything about the culture, the food. Like,
That's hilarious.
so when I'd gotten there, total cultural
Culture
shock.
shock.
oh, I
Yeah.
bet.
Wow.
So I had a cousin who served in the Philippines, and I was like really little when she had sent her emails home, but I only remembered her talking about eating balut. Do you guys know what that is?
I don't.
So balut is basically this chicken egg that's like not fully developed, and they eat it when it's probably like a few weeks old to 21 weeks old. So it's like this it's like an embryo that's not fully developed. So like yeah, and so that's what they eat. It's like a Filipino delicacy. So that's the only thing I knew.
Oh.
And I remember when I was growing up, I was like, oh, I don't want to go to the Philippines because I
I
don't
don't
want to eat
wanna
that.
Like you can't
Oh,
catch
So when I
all the
opened my
places.
call, I was like, oh, I'ma eat that.
the first thing
But
comes
that
to your
was the
mind.
only thing I knew about the Philippines. Like I didn't
That's
know
hilarious.
anything.
Did you
else.
know anything about like Tagalog or anything?
No, I didn't even know
Okay.
that there were like multiple languages, that there were multiple like smaller dialects within Tagalog. Like literally nothing. Just the egg.
Just the balloon.
Just the just the blue, and that was it.
That's
But-
crazy. Yeah, no, because I've heard of people who go to the Philippines and they're opening their call, reading the thing, and it's like they don't even know how to say Tagalog.
No,
They're
I
like,
said Tagalog. Yeah, I said
Tagalog.
Tagalog.
Yeah,
And I
I've
said I'm serving the Angeles mission because obviously like Los Angeles, but
Right.
now
Uh-huh.
it's Angeles. So so literally
that's
nothing, knew nothing, just the
That's
egg.
crazy.
But-
Did your twin sister? Did you guys open your calls together?
Yeah, so we opened
That's
our
so
calls. So we
fun.
turned our papers in the same day, got them the same day, opened them together, and then
fun.
yeah. So my sister served in Ecuador.
Oh,
So she went
cool.
Spanish speaking. I was
That's
going
so
Tagalog
sick.
speaking, but we were leaving 2 weeks apart. So I left
Okay.
first.
Okay.
And then she started
That's cool.
2 weeks after me. But
Do you feel like that process was like easier because you had someone to do it with? Like
yeah,
the whole
for
mission.
Sure.
Okay,
for
cool.
sure. Because it was our plan our whole lives to go. So like just doing the whole thing together. We even did our interviews together, which is
Really?
which I think
Wait,
is
like the same room?
yeah, like literally sat in the same room
What?
with Bishop. Like
That's
yeah.
crazy.
No, that is crazy.
That's cool though.
so.
That's
That-
awesome.
That was super sick. So were you guys in like? How many weeks of in-person MTC did you do?
I
like,
had
at
all
home?
6 weeks. So I was supposed to have, I think, about 1 or 2 weeks online.
Mhm.
But right before I went out, they had changed, or I guess they had told my stake last minute that I could go fully in person to Manila. So I went to the Manila
Really?
MTC, yeah. So I was supposed to be online at first, but I did all 6 weeks out there. And my sister, I think she did 2 weeks online and then the rest in person in Provo. But,
Okay, cool.
yeah, so
Dang.
the Manila MTC does not compare to Provo. Like, missionaries come from Provo, and they're like, oh, the food's way better here. It is a lot smaller, and so it is a lot more, like, I don't know, more interactive with how many missionaries are there, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Whereas, like,
Right.
Provo is just
It's like
so
easier
many.
to scale, like
Yeah.
food and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
in the MTC in Manila, all the food that's served there is all Filipino food. So, like, you're
So you're getting
to
warmed
it.
up.
Yep,
Dang.
right from the start. So,
Oh dang. Was
Yeah.
that was that a crazy adjustment in the MTC, or was it good because it like conditioned you for like even more like weird foods or whatever?
I would say so because we did have some like pretty like we learned what the Filipino food was.
Yeah.
Like pig cheeks and ears.
Oh
and,
my
like,
gosh.
liver, like literally, they just
What
get
is
to it.
like the actual like cheek of a pig?
Yeah, so they like so
What?
it's this dish called sisig. It's actually one of like the Americans' like favorite dish.
Really?
So they take the ear, the cartilage of the ear, and then the cheek of the pig, and they kind of like fry it up a little bit, and then they add like a little kick to it. It's pretty good. And then I think you
Really?
mix it with like coconut milk or something, and some like chives, some green onions. But yeah, we all thought it was good until they told us what it was.
Yeah, you're like, just don't.
And we're like,
Like, hold up.
yeah. So
You're telling me this is pig cheek right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
yep. We got to know the food pretty well in the MTC, but I think it was more of like adjusting to the heat.
Yeah.
So the MTC, like, it was fully air conditioned,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was either you could choose to like go sit outside and adjust to the heat, the humidity, or take in all the air conditioning you can within the 6 weeks. Because once you're
Right.
out in the field, your
Oh
apartment,
my
there's no
gosh.
air conditioning.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
kind of the best of both worlds, but not really.
And it's super humid there too, right?
super
Yeah.
humid.
Whew.
Yep.
Is it like that 24/7?
24/7, like year round. Like,
It's like the same. It's the same weather.
yep. It's either
Like
super hot or it's just raining all the time.
like rainy season.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty hot during
Yeah.
rainy season.
Mhm.
And super humid, right?
Yeah. Super.
Oh my
humid.
gosh.
Like, you're just sweating. Like, I learned in the MTC to always have like a handkerchief or something, because
Yeah.
like you're just sweating all the time.
Ugh.
Like,
That
even the
sucks.
Filipinos carry handkerchiefs around and they're just sweating, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this for 18 months.
That is
Yeah,
tough.
humidity will get you, like, honestly.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. So, was there anything, like, did you have any significant, really cool experiences in the MTC, or, like, any advice that you would want to give about going to the MTC?
I feel like just in the MTC in general, especially if you're learning the language, like, learn to use the language. Because I think after the MTC, when I got into the field, I realized I slacked off a little bit in the MTC, wasn't taking it too seriously.
Oh yeah.
But I think any little bit, like, even just like good morning, like just learning to say that and using it every day, I think is one way that you can become a better missionary and be prepared for the field while you're in the MTC.
Right. Did you guys ever do like the immersion period where you can only
Oh
speak
yeah,
Tagalog?
yeah. So it was like,
Did you actually do that? Because I know like
Well-
our district, we were like, oh, we were so high, we're like, oh, it's Spanish only, it's gonna be so
Yeah.
sick. And then like an hour in, we're just all speaking English.
Yeah,
we're like, oh, guys,
yeah.
this is too hard. We can't do this.
yeah, that totally happened. Like, I would say it's pretty hard because they call it like SYO, like speak your language.
Right.
And because the Manila MTC was so small, and because it was still like post-COVID, there were only 2 American districts there
Oh,
while I
okay.
was there. So it was probably like 12 to 16 missionaries, or American missionaries. So like anytime we like saw each other, we would always speak English. But like in class, if we needed to ask a question, it was always like ask it in Tagalog.
Mm-hmm.
And if you said it in English, the teacher just wouldn't respond to you.
Do they
So-
even know English?
Yep, they know English. So because Manila, it just has like super high American influence there. So like the Philippines is known for like American call centers. So like
Okay.
a bunch of the Filipinos could speak English because they'll like work for T-Mobile. And like, you know, you're out
Really?
here in the U.S. and you're dialing that 1-800 number. It's probably somebody in the Philippines.
Huh.
So they all learn English, and they all
That's
could
super
speak.
interesting.
But yeah,
That's
so I
cool.
would say Manila. So Manila is the capital of the Philippines, and just around Manila, it's more English dominant. Whereas the farther you go out, it's less and less English. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
That's cool.
Because I remember like all the teachers in Mexico MTC, I think the majority of them only speak Spanish. I remember
Okay.
it's like my MTC teachers could not speak English, and
Oh,
so
wow.
it was super fun. Like we'd get them to like
Yeah.
say random stuff in English.
Yeah.
That was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
But it pushed us to actually
Yeah.
learn the language. I'm sure when
Yeah,
you're
that's good.
surrounded by like there's only 12 Americans, 16 American missionaries in there.
You're,
Like
like,
pushing you to
only-
like,
yeah.
learn the language quick.
Literally, like I would take full advantage while you're in the MTC.
Oh yeah,
But
100%.
we would also go and teach English to the Filipino districts because there were so many of them. So it'd be like
Oh.
once a week, because the area presidency, I think they had a goal for the Filipino missionaries to learn English.
Right.
So like while the missionaries have their 1 hour of Filipino language study, they would have their 1 hour of English. So we would go in once a week, like after a devotional, and meet with the district and teach them English. So one time we just taught them a bunch of like riddles or like funny sayings.
That's
Like-
hilarious. That's so sick.
That's so
Sally,
fun.
something about what is this? The seashell
Like
one?
Sally sold
Yeah.
seashells
See?
Yeah.
on the seashore.
Yep. See, things like that. That's what
Yeah.
we taught them. But
That's hilarious.
That's
Could
funny.
they do it?
no.
No.
Yeah,
That's so
It
funny.
was so fun to teach them. But
So was the language for you really hard? And like, I guess, was it as hard as you expected, harder, or I don't know? Just like,
I
what was
feel
your
like
experience?
in the MTC, it was definitely like pretty hard to like pick up, especially because they like push you so hard. That way you don't struggle so much in the fields. But one time we had a couple of missionaries who were serving in Manila. They had come to visit the MTC just on their P day, and one of them just happened to be, I think he was Tongan. He was here from Provo, and he had been like 6 months out, and he had already, like, he was speaking so fluently. And so we had asked him advice, like, oh, like, is it that hard? Like, what can we do? There's this and that. And he was like, well, in the MTC, like, you really focus on, like, the stuff you learn in the book. But once you get out there, like, it'll definitely be a lot easier learning the language. It will be slower, but his best advice was to just talk to the kids. Because all the kids, like, they don't care if you mess up in Tagalog. Like, they'll just correct you or they'll make fun of you at first. But the kids are always, like, willing to help you.
Yeah.
And because some of the kids, like, now in the Philippines, I feel like what they're exposed to through, like, YouTube or TV or music, it's mostly in English. But their parents are speaking to them in Tagalog. So they're easier to adjust to rather than speaking to somebody older.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That's
That
cool.
does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then, I guess when you went on the field, what were your first impressions of the mission? All those things?
First impressions. Okay. So when I went, definitely culture shock, as I said in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just hot, humid. Traffic is crazy. Nobody believes in traffic lines. Like,
Nice.
no
Yeah, it's just
traffic
like-
lights. Like, sure, it's the same everywhere else in like other third world countries. But I was definitely scared when I went into my apartment. It was super tiny. Like, and my companion was like, "Oh, sister, like, are you afraid of anything?" And I was like, "No."
That's
I
such a
don't know.
crazy question to ask.
She's
yeah.
like,
Why do you ask?
Yeah, I was like, "Why? Is there something I should be afraid of?" She goes, "Oh, well, we have rats in our apartment." And I was
Oh,
like, "You're kidding. Like,
You're kidding.
rats? Like," and she kind of explained to me, like, they come from the bathroom and go into the kitchen. And I'm like, "You're lying. Like, I've
This is a joke,
never
right?
seen a
oh my
rat." Like,
gosh.
so yeah, when I went into my apartment, she didn't really explain like what the apartment looked like, but when I had gone in, I was like, this is why there's rats, because it's just so messy in
Oh,
here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And just a lot of clutter everywhere. So that was definitely a shock to me. And then yeah, it was just super small, probably like just a little upstairs that was probably like a quarter size of this room,
Holy
to be
crap.
honest. And it
Wow.
was just the bedroom
That's crazy.
with like just like half a wall in between, and then the other side was just had like a rack just to hang your clothes.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
when you did your laundry or
That's
whatever, but-
Crazy.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I thought the apartments would be a lot nicer for missionaries, but nope.
But
No, you get thrown in.
Yeah,
That's
so-
crazy. Did you ever like did you see the rats?
Oh, I
ever?
think I did see it like a few times. Like
Okay.
if I would just be sitting at my desk, like doing personal study, be super quiet, like you could see it run.
Oh.
And the thing is like the drain wasn't like a drain here. It was just a hole in the ground, which is how I think they would be
Yeah.
coming in. And then there was also like a little hole in our kitchen floor. Because it had like a faucet. So like imagine like if you were just to mop the floor instead of getting water
Yeah.
from the sink, just some random faucet in the corner. And so
Oh,
that's
on
where
the
the drain
ground.
was. And so I think that's how they also came in.
Huh.
So that's how they were.
But did they ever
that.
get in your room? Like
I
did
don't
you-
think so.
Okay.
I never
That's
seen it
where-
in the room. Yeah.
That's where I draw the line. I'm
Yeah,
like,
draw the
no.
line.
no, that's not getting on me when I'm sleeping.
You never
No.
heard them at night, like skipping around?
No, because
Oh.
we were upstairs and
That's
we'd
good.
always
That
sleep
is
with
good.
the door shut.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's
it
good.
just never
Smart.
came in the room, which is good. But
Oh.
just
Were they
downstairs.
big?
I would say, yeah. Sometimes you would sit in a lesson and like, so some of the homes in the Philippines, like very humble
Yeah.
homes. And so they're all just like, you can see each cinder block
Mm-hmm.
and then just like a piece of tin just over the cinder blocks to make the roof, and you could see like just the rats like crawling up in the
Really?
up
Like
on
in
the,
the-
top, like
in the
on top,
roofing.
yeah, in the roofing, like because it
That's
wasn't like
crazy.
enclosed or anything like a regular ceiling. Like you could literally just see like the wood that holds the tin, and then the tin that just sits there, and then
Right.
the rats would just be crawling like, and they were
Dang.
like pretty big, like
Yeah, because I feel like I don't think I've seen like a legit rat before. I think I've
Really?
only seen like a
Like a mouse.
mouse. Because I've
Yeah.
heard rats can be big.
yeah, like they're
They can get freaking massive, bro.
yeah, and they're just
Well, you went to New
crawling.
York,
Yeah,
right?
some of
So
the
you
rats
saw a lot of
like, on the subway, they're crawling on
Oh
the track.
my gosh.
The best when you watch them like play tag with each other. like,
Oh,
hide and
that's
go
so
seek.
weird.
Ew.
It's so fun. They're, like one like runs around a corner, like is waiting for the other, and one's like looking
Yeah.
for him and finds him. They start running around in circles.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
It's super funny.
During lessons,
That's
I'll be
crazy.
like, please don't fall down. Like, in the middle of the lesson.
Drops on
Like,
you.
we're almost done. Then we can leave.
They're almost done.
Oh my gosh. Wrap it up. Spiritual thought. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Just
That's awesome. But I guess, yeah, I don't know. Do you have any like crazy stories, conversion stories, funny stories? I guess we're looking for all those.
Crazy stories. I was thinking about this earlier, but I feel like one of the craziest things I had to do was watch my companions learn how to bike. So in the Philippines,
What?
a lot of like when they're just really little, like their parents don't really let them like go out and adventure because then they're going to hurt themselves, obviously. So I had two companions who did not know how to ride a bike. So I had to teach them because that was the only way we were getting around. Like
Oh wow.
we were out kind of like the countryside. You call it the bukid. So it's hard to like get public transportation around. So it's either you walk to your appointment that's like 45 minutes away, or we're going to learn how to bike and get there in like 20 minutes. And so
Dang.
I had the first companion I taught how to ride a bike. She was so determined, and she was from Manila, so from the city. So
Yeah.
obviously like she wasn't going to learn how to bike. But there was one time where she had just gone for it, and we were going down like a rice field, and there were a bunch of people just working in the rice field, like picking rice. And there was like this ditch on the side. And I'm like riding behind her just to make sure like she's okay or
Oh,
whatever.
no.
Because if she's behind me,
Yeah.
you bet I'm leaving
you
her.
turn around, she's
Turn
just
around,
gone.
she's
Like, oh
no
no,
longer
she's
there.
gone.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, so
That's not good.
I'm riding behind her, and all of a sudden she's like swerving into the ditch, and then I don't know if she like ran over a rock or something, but she totally fell into the ditch, and everybody just on the side of the rice field all saw her and all just started laughing, like
Oh,
just
that's so
laughing
sad.
at her. And so she just gets up, and I'm like, "It's okay, sister. Like you're fine." Like, and she just rubs some dirt on it, and then she gets back on the bike and keeps going. And then these people who are in the rice field, they're like sitting in like a wagon, and they come by her, and they're all shouting at her, like laughing and like pointing at her. And she's just super funny. So she just makes a joke about it and whatever, and just keeps going. And so that was definitely like crazy times during my mission where I just had to keep watching my companion fall. But they were good champs. They would get back up again and keep biking. But
That would be
sometimes
hard.
we'd be chased by dogs. And
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
I don't know how she's gonna get away.
On the bike. All right, you're gonna have to really clock in here on
Yeah,
this bike
like-
thing.
unless you want the dog to come bite
Oh my
bite your
gosh.
leg.
You
Like,
gotta pedal
keep
the metal
going.
here.
I feel like,
But-
yeah, it would be harder when you're older to learn how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But-
probably.
Because it's such like a, I don't know. Like when you're younger, you learn it and then you never really forget. But then it's
Yeah.
like, if you're older, it's just like, what
You
is
just have
happening?
more to think
It's like-
about. Like,
It's
Yeah.
like learning a language. Like, it's like easier
Yeah.
when you're little.
Right. You're
Yeah.
kind of, that's crazy though.
yeah. So
Being chased. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
chased
And you
by
don't know how to
dogs,
ride a
and you
bike.
yeah, you don't know how to ride a bike. You don't know where you're going. Like,
Oh my
you
gosh.
just got to make it out of there alive.
That,
Fight the dog, I guess.
that's true.
That was wild.
That's crazy. Okay. That's awesome.
Well, before we get into some of your more stories, we're going to take a little break. So our great sponsor, Lifey,
Oh, yes.
can show you a little bit of video. You can learn a bit more about the app. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Yes.
Hey, I'm Alex Belinsky. I'm the founder of the Lifey Project, and I am super passionate about learning from people's life experiences. Over the last 9 years, I've interviewed about 3,000 people on YouTube and then more recently on the Lifey app. With the Lifey Project, what we're trying to do is we're trying to virtually interview tens of thousands of people about their life experiences to help other people at different stages of life. So we're trying to collect tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these rapid fire virtual interviews with people based on their life experiences as it relates to their college experience, their career experiences, their experiences with different health conditions, with parenting, marriage, dating, personal finance, all sorts of things. So the Lifey app is kind of like a free mentoring resource where people can go anytime they need advice on trying to navigate their life. They can go on there and hear dozens of anecdotes. They can hear a bunch of different opinions and stories and perspectives to kind of help them hopefully make better decisions in their life and have a more happy, fulfilling life. Every single person in this world has experiences and insights that could help someone else out. So the idea of what we're trying to do with the app is we're trying to collect those experiences and insights and then index them in a way that those who could benefit from them can find them.
If you could record 10 to 15 videos, that would be very helpful, but feel free to record as many as you'd like.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Lifey Podcast. Hope you enjoyed that little sponsor break. It's kind of lit. But we're super excited to continue our interview with Kina. She's going to tell us a few more stories about her time in the Philippines as a missionary. So what do you got for us? What crazy story you got next?
Okay, another crazy story. I guess in that same area that I was teaching my companion how to bike.
What area was that?
This was Panicky, so this is my second area.
Second area.
Yep. So this area was definitely more bukid, or more countryside. So definitely a lot of rice fields, corn fields, just where everybody grew all their vegetables and things. But we were teaching this part member family. So the wife, she'd been a member since like a year before COVID, I think. And then her daughter had just been baptized the year before I was there. So we were teaching the husband. He was like straight Catholic, like born a Catholic, die a Catholic. Like that was his motto. But the sisters before me, they were teaching him, I think for a few months, and he'd been coming to church. So he had a baptismal date, and it was, I think, a few weeks after I'd gotten there. So we had his baptism and everything, and he had lived with his two sisters and then a little brother. And then he had his two kids, and then like an uncle, a few cousins on the other side. Like they were just all lived in this house together. And but both of his parents had died, so he was watching over I think it was his dad's siblings. But we were there teaching the little brother, and they had fed us dinner and everything, and so it was about time to go home. I would say this was like 8:30 or something. We had just lived down the street. But one of the uncles, he like always comes home after work and just chills outside and then gets super drunk.
Oh.
And the thing about me being in the Philippines is that obviously I'm brown, so everybody just assumed that I was Filipino. But the second I spoke, my American accent came out. And like Filipino men have just like this weird thing for like American girls. Just because, like, obviously, like, you know, the thing about, like, Americans, like, being just rich and having money, so, like, they want to get there or whatever. So, like, anytime any of the sister missionaries who were American would walk down the street would obviously, like, get catcalled or, like, get certain comments about them and whatever. So my companion at the time, she was Filipino, and we were just teaching this lesson, and the uncle had come in drunk. And I just, like, immediately just stopped talking. Like, because I was like, mid-lesson, I was like, I'm not saying anything right now. But I don't know, like, what happens, like, when you're drunk or anything, obviously, because, like, we don't drink. So I'm like, but somehow he, like, knew that I was there and knew that I was American. So he comes over and is, like, trying to be like, oh, like, sister, like, oh, I go to church, too. Like, I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I pray. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, good. Like, and I'm looking at the family, like, and at the time, the husband who we had just baptized had left. So to go to the bathroom or something. And we were in the room with his wife, his two sisters, and then his kids, and then the little brother. But yeah, he just comes over and is like trying to, I guess, prove to me that he's worth teaching, I guess, in a sort of way. But the wife and the sister are like, no, like, uncle, like, don't, like, just leave them alone. Like, yes, you believe in God, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's time for you to go. And so he like is like, no, I'm going to talk to this sister. And so they're like, oh, sister, like, just say like whatever, like something like super simple. That way he can just go away or something. But the uncle never left and was just so persistent. And so he like puts his hand out, and I like don't want to make him mad. Like, I don't know what happens if you make a drunk guy mad. And so I shake his hand, and he grabs my hand and then just kisses it. And I'm like, this is so random. Like,
this is weird.
What? And so the wife and the daughter, they had like gotten super scared because they didn't know what he was going to do next. And so I like snatched my hand away, and then he like tries to go for it again. And he was so persistent that my companion she's so timid and so quiet. I did not expect this from her. She just gets up and puts herself in between me and the uncle and is like telling him like he has to leave. Like, he can't come talk to me anymore. He can't come touch me anymore. And so then the husband who had just recently got baptized, like his nephew had come in and basically told the uncle that it was his time to go. And so after that, we had like made the plan, like, okay, like maybe we don't come teach the family when the uncle's there, like after work or something. Right. We would just come during the day, especially when the wife and the sisters were there. That way we would be fine. And eventually we were teaching the husband's little brother and his little cousins. And there was 3 teenage boys. So we taught them during the day whenever they got home from school for lunch or something. And they eventually got baptized, but we had to go back for their interviews. So we had to make the plan like, okay, we can't go when the uncle's there, this and that. But yeah, that was probably like one of the scariest moments of my life, because I was like, I don't know what a drunk guy's going to do. But after that, I was like, never talking to a drunk guy ever again.
Never again.
Just move on. Like, but yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that can be scary.
That was wild.
Dang. Oh, do you have any other like conversion stories, I guess? Your coolest miracle story or conversion story?
Okay. I would say, so my whole mission, I had a goal to at least baptize one whole family. That was my goal, my whole mission. And so I had served in 4 different areas, about 6 months each for the first 2. And I think the last 2 were probably 3 months and then 4 months. Yeah, whatever the math is. But I had gone through each area teaching like little kids or youth, parents. I would teach some families, but the people who would be baptized, it wouldn't be a whole family. It would be like the mom and the kids, or the dad and the kids, or just the dad, or just the mom, or just the one sister, like things like that. It was never a complete family, and I'd always prayed to like find the one family that I was meant to teach and baptize. And it wasn't until my last area in the last 2 transfers.
Dang.
I had gotten, I think it was rainy season then, and this was probably like my 3rd cyclone I'd been through. And so the streets, and I was in the city, and in the city it's more flooded when it rains. And so we didn't want to stay cooped up in our apartment or whatever, and so we'd go out. But the thing is like, if you have open cuts on your legs, and you're walking through water, you'll get infected. Because in the Philippines, in a lot of like the less fortunate areas, there's just trash like lined up on the side. The gutters aren't really clean. Like, you can literally just see things come down the road. Like, you're like, oh, I don't want to walk in that. And I didn't realize I had a cut on my foot.
No.
And so, so I got this huge infection on my toe. I thought I had broken a bone because that's what it had looked like at first. But the infection had gotten bigger because the more I was walking on it, the more swollen it got. And so in my second to last, I think I had it in my 3rd to last transfer, but I'd gone through that whole transfer like not even worried about it. Then the second to last transfer, this is why it got worse. The second to last transfer, I'd gotten a new companion, and they had told me that like I needed to go to the doctor and get it looked at. So we got it, like I went a few times, and she had to like cut it open and like dig it out. Like it hurt. So while I was walking around, like attracting, finding people to teach, I had this fat bandage on my toe. And so there was one particular day that I was about to rain, and I was like, oh, sister, like we need to go inside because like I don't want to get my foot infected again. But I was gonna tell her that, but I got the prompting like, no, like this is just another excuse, like you're just being lazy, like
Just being
being
lazy.
trunky, you're about to go home. Like, no, we need to keep finding people. And we were walking down the street from the church, and I was like, okay, whatever, like maybe we'll go find somebody down the road, and if we don't find anybody, then we'll just go to the church building and wait for the rain. As we were walking by, there's this guy that comes out, and he's like, oh, are you guys the Mormon missionaries? And we're like, oh yeah. And he was like, how can we get into your church? Because in the Philippines, the churches, they're all gated. And so they're closed when nobody's there. And he was like, how do we get past the gates? And we explained to him like, oh, anybody can go on Sundays at this time. Like the gates are always open. And you're more than welcome to come to church. And he was like, oh, okay. Because he had 2 daughters. He had wanted them to kind of grow up knowing that there was a God. And so he was Catholic, but he got offended by the Catholic priest. So he had stopped going for years. His wife they're called INC, so Iglesia Ni Cristo. And they're kind of like, they kind of teach doctrine related to our doctrine, but they kind of twist it a little. So it was the church that was the most similar to our church. And so he was like, oh, can you guys come and teach us? And we're like, yeah, totally. So we go later that week, I think on Sunday after church, with a few members from the ward council, and we meet his 2 daughters. And at the time, I think a week before, my closest friend on the mission had just passed away. So we were in the MTC. She had gotten an infection in her arm, and then she was declared septic, and they had rushed her to the Manila hospital. And they couldn't do anything, so she ended up passing away. And so at that time, I was obviously serving a mission. Like, people expect you to know all the doctrine, right? Like, you know everything that God is teaching, like in the Book of Mormon, and like that's what you believe. But that was the first time in my life where I felt like my faith had wavered about the plan of salvation. I was like, how could God let my best friend on the mission pass away as a missionary? Like, in this time of her life, like, why would he do that to her? And so when we were meeting with this family, we had asked them, what are some questions that you guys have about God or for God? And the oldest daughter had asked, like, what do we believe about the next life? Because she was super close to her grandmother, and her grandmother passed away. And my companion looked at me, and I was like, I don't want to answer this because I'm asking the same thing too. But my companion was like, no, like, you know the answer. And the Spirit said the same thing to me. So I'd sat there and I told her that I was going through the same thing because a week before my best friend had just died. And even though I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I told her, like, I don't know if the plan of salvation is real, but I should know. And then, so we talked about the plan of salvation, and then I felt the Spirit in that lesson, and I testified to her that I know that God gave us a plan that we'll be able to see those we love again in the eternities. And so that whole lesson kind of changed the way that I was looking at my mission and definitely touched them, because then we invited them to church that Sunday, which was General Conference Sunday. And usually you're like, oh, they're not going to come. Like, who wants to sit and watch TV for 2 hours, like in the church? But they ended up coming, and they sat in a room where the General Conference was being translated into Tagalog, because in the chapel they had it in English. And they were there for President Nelson's talk, and it was about thinking celestial, and which was a pretty good talk. And I'm glad that they stayed. And then afterwards, when we had met with them, the dad was like, oh my gosh, like, that was just so great. Like, I felt like I was sitting in first class with Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ just by listening to President Nelson. And my companion and I were just like in awe, because somehow we just met this guy who wanted the gospel for his family earlier that week. Then we taught them this lesson, and the Spirit was there. And then they came to General Conference out of all Sundays, their first Sunday of General Conference, and they stayed. And that's how we felt. And so that was the moment in my mission where I felt like I had done everything that God had wanted me to do on my mission. And they were the last people that I had baptized before I had left. And so I remember my mission president was telling us, like, when you leave your mission, like, make sure you gave everything to God. And teaching that family and seeing them, like, progress and get baptized was a testament to me that I had done everything that God had wanted me to do.
Wow.
That's a super cool story. Like,
Yeah, that was really awesome. I love it how I feel like a lot of times if like we like have heard something that's true, but we have yet to receive like that witness. A lot of times God has us teach it to someone else, and in the act of teaching it, the Spirit uses us, and so we're saying the words of the Spirit, and we're not only teaching other people, we're teaching ourselves as well, and it deepens our testimonies of those divine truths. So I really love that story. It's such a testament of God's love for us, like His plan. I'm sure He totally knew, like, oh, she wants to back to the family. Just wait, like she's gonna find this awesome family. They're gonna receive the gospel, and it's gonna be great. And it'll change her life and their lives as well.
Yeah. So after we had baptized them, we had like a little gathering, like a little celebration, and the bishop had gotten up, because I think it was my second to last week in the mission, and the bishop had gotten up and had told the ward, because we were able to baptize a family, it's now their turn to take care of them so they could be sealed in the temple a year later. And usually in the Philippines, like, if the recent converts don't have that strength in the ward, then they fall away.
Right.
And they don't get to that sealing part. And so their goal was to make sure that within the next year that the ward did all they could to make sure that they had a calling that they were ministered to in order for them to be sealed in the temple. And so
That is awesome. That is so awesome. I love it when wards really come together, take care of the recent converts, and make sure ministers. That is powerful. That's what it's all about.
That's so cool. Are you in contact or like friends with them on Facebook?
yeah, so I still communicate with them through our little group chat that we had on the mission, and they're doing pretty good. They have yet to be sealed, but I'm pretty sure it's still in the works.
That is awesome.
Get there. So
That's so cool.
That is so cool.
That's what's so cool about technology, is being able to like kind of keep tabs on those people who made like such a difference in your life, and you had such a cool experience with. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's super sweet.
That's super cool. Okay, I guess we can go into how leaving was and like adjusting post mission. Was it hard for you to leave? Were you sad, or were you ready to go?
definitely after like meeting and teaching that family, like it was hard to leave. Like I had left with one other American sister, and we were super close on the mission as well. But when we had gotten to like the mission home and like had done all the closing things you do, we were like, do we have to go? Like, why do we have to go? Like, can we stay? And I was a sister training leader at the time, and there was a sister who I think she was like 6 to 8 months in the field, and I had done exchanges with her, and she was like, oh, you're so lucky you get to leave. And I was like, you can take my ticket if you want to go home. Like, I'll stay for you. Like, if I could stay a little longer, I would. So it was definitely hard to leave the mission, leave the Philippines in general, because I'd grown to love the people so much, loved the language so much, loved the food so much, just loved serving the Lord so much that I wish I'd stayed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, coming home was always really hard, especially after you had all those experiences and met all those amazing people. It can be tough.
I bet. Yeah.
Was it tough adjusting when you got back?
Oh yeah, it snowed the day I got back. I was
You're like,
the
bro,
second I got to the
crazy.
airport, I was like, there's no way it's snowing right now.
It's just freezing
Yeah,
cold.
it was freezing, and I think I was in sandals too, and I'm like,
Right, because you got on the plane, it was warm and humid,
Yeah.
and you get off and it's
travel
dry
halfway
and
across the
cold.
world, and it's like the polar opposite.
Oh my
But,
gosh.
yeah, it was snowing.
Yeah,
when I
that's
got
a
back.
wake up call. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, oh,
that's
shit.
over.
Yeah,
That's
and then I
crazy.
think walking to my house, like, so in all my apartments in the Philippines, like I always wore sandals just because like the floor wasn't like that good to like be walking around in. And so the second I got home, my parents had changed the flooring in the kitchen and had changed the carpet, and I was like, wow, this feels so nice. And then a hot shower too. I was like, wow, because we were taking bucket showers in the Philippines and they're cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
So
wow.
it's definitely, there was like some nice things,
Yeah,
but
some
also
nice
just
things
such an adjustment. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, well, that's cool. I guess what's like one thing that you would just advise any missionary about to go out? And then also, just
a little piece of advice. I would definitely say, well, one thing I told myself in the MTC was that, like, if 1 million other people can do it, so can you. It doesn't matter where you serve in the world. the Lord wants you where you are. And if so many other people can do it, then you can do it. Like all the little trials you hear about in the mission, it's so worth going through because the Savior will always be there. There's a scripture in Doctrine and Covenants where it says, I think it's in 88, where it's like, I'll be on your right hand and on your left, that scripture. And so I always kept that in the back of my mind because the cultural shock was hard at first. The language was hard and just getting used to everything. But that scripture kept me going. And I kept telling myself, if so many other people can do it in the Philippines, then I can do it. Like, I can make it to those 18 months. And I wanted to stay after, so.
There you go.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah,
Sweet.
God definitely multiplies people. So I think if you're willing and able, then he can really just make things so much better than you ever would have thought.
100%.
Yeah, but I think it'd be cool if you just left maybe some words of encouragement in Tagalog for
In Tagalog.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been so long. What do I say? I guess I can bear my testimony in Tagalog.
There you go.
For it.
Okay.
That works.
Alam ko na ang totoong ang ebanghelyo ni Jesucristo na kung saan susunod tayo ng mga kautusan na binigay ng Diyos, may mga biyaya na darating sa buhay natin.
Amen.
Wow. Amen. That's
That's
great.
awesome. That's super cool.
Well, Kina, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks
It was
for
super
having
awesome
me.
hearing your
Yes.
stories from the Philippines. I hope all our viewers loved it as much as I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, watch the other podcasts. We got two
Yes.
others before. We might have some after.
Yes.
But yeah, before we close, one last shout out to the Lifey app. Super awesome. Encourage you all to download it, record some videos, help other people. If you
Yep.
serve a mission, you can go on the missionary tab and share your own stories and advice and help future missionaries out. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, sweet. Well, we will see you guys in a future video then.
Yes.
Go
Sweet.
Lifey.
Go Lifey, let's go.
Go download that app.
Oh yeah.